Voilà, donc j'espère que vous avez bien profité de la pause pour
Well, I hope that you
qui était donc
I
au dos de
hope
vos bâtons.
you enjoyed the break and that you scanned many QR codes. We will go on with our pitch session. We're going to welcome Simon Tillien, who's working for Mapea.
Eh bien, bonjour à tous, bonjour à toutes. Donc Simon, je suis comme on m'a présenté.
Or good morning. So Mapea is a textile recycling company to produce plastics. So we recover textile material, use mechanical processes to produce plastic. So the story of Mapea, it's a 20-year company developing compound and things like that, real expertise in the area of plastic. And at one point, we moved to textile. 2024, we raised funds, we changed our shareholding structure, and started getting really involved in textile recycling to produce plastics. So a small team of 8 people. So innovating as SME, but also working on an industrial scale. We're close to the city of Lyon. We've developed the Textium process. It makes it possible to do 2 things. We start with the textile waste, post-consumer or post-industrial. We use it as waste, or we also use it to produce preparation for chemical processing afterwards. So the idea is to have an open loop from textile down to plastic to produce plastics for the injection industry. We recycle different types of fibers, polyester, polyamide, polycotton, and polyamide polyester. Our specificity is that we do not try to separate the different fibers. As you see here, we use or deal with blends. And we work also on the compatibility of these materials. So we retrieve the polyester as it is. We use a textile without any hard points. We'll come back to that. So the Textium process, this is something we do in our pilot plant. So we get the textile waste, post-industrial, post-consumer. The first thing is processing the textile, shredding and densification. Then we get textile pellets, and this is the entry point to recycling. We do thermomechanical recycling. So we do, in fact, reactive extrusion to produce pellets, but we can also use the pellets to feed chemical or enzymatic processes. And there is a financing with Refashion, in fact, in 2026 to work on this. So in this process, we put the textile pellets with additives, and we develop compounds for the plastic industry. And a last minute to show you some pictures of the extrusion and to talk about our material. So yes, we recycle textile, but we sell plastic material coming from recycled textile, polyamide, polyester, polycotton. And polycotton is used as a reinforcement fiber, and to be added, for example, to PP. So if you have plastic parts in your process, we can have a semi-open loop, and therefore produce plastic elements. Thank you very much. And I will be with you this afternoon also, so we can also talk about densifying the product, the densification. Olivier Civil, CEO of Plastiles.
Merci. Super, merci. Bon, on va rester dans le texte ou plast. Donc nous, on est en fait deux entreprises.
So we have two companies.
Nous travaillons donc, évidemment sur le recyclage du déchet textile. Alors on a créé une première start-up.
Recycling textiles. So we created Plaxtil in 2000.
Transformer en fait le déchet textile en polymère.
2020 to work with
dans les compositions
polymer
des vêtements, on va retrouver
textiles.
Et donc on s'était dit tiens ce serait pas mal peut-être.
So at the time we thought it's a good idea to use an open loop to produce plastic for the plastic industry. Then we created a second startup called Essémont. So the Plaxtil patents cover the process and the material that we actually manufacture. So the solution, well, we use
à la fois comme charge et
textile
comme matrice.
as the filler or as the matrix to get the best material for the plastic industry.
On est à peu près sur des mêmes types de fabrication. Nous, aujourd'hui, notre objectif,
Our objective today,
nouvelles matières, c'est des matières qui sont à
we
100%
come up with new material. They're produced from 100% waste, and the mechanical characteristics are this have what it needs to be used in the plastic industry. Now we also have closed-loop solutions. That is to say that we have customers who have feedstock, textile feedstock. We retrieve it, process it, produce objects, and we give the products back to the customer. So, and this to replace some plastic parts that used virgin plastic at the time. So this is quite interesting for the customer, and the customer can use these parts as they are produced by us. And we have a major retailer who will put on the market some products that have been produced according to the Plaxtil process. In 2020, we had a lot of feedstock that were the actual masks. And to manage the production, we had to manage the feedstock. No one could actually process the source at the time. So we had to create another company called Essémont. And today, they do preparation or processing and hence sourcing, in fact. So we started in 2021. We worked only for Plaxtil for 3 years, and then we decided to open up the field in 2024, and the services we proposed were, in fact, very interesting for the new chemical recycling operators because they have very specific specifications. So we have decided to go for that outlet. So today we have also those customers. So the recycling line for CHF is the following. You know, everyone will start working in the area of enhanced sorting, and there's also the textile-to-textile chemical recyclers. Now, we also do training in the area of materials sorting. We organize that training for those working in the social and solidarity economy. So the two companies make up now Plaxtil et Cement. So we sell a trim removed product. We can produce or sell feedstock that are upsorted or enhanced sorted. Then we can, in fact, also sell products directly to some industries. This is the optical sorting line. We put it in place in 2025. We can process 5,000 tons with enhanced sorting. And now we move to Pečka. We've heard about Pečka before.
Bonjour, je suis le fondateur de Pečka.
So I'm the creator of Pečka. We work with polymers. That is to say that we transform polyester into chemical gold.
I'm not
going to talk about the volume of polyester to recycle. I'd like to come back to the equation we mentioned with three unknown. No one wants to pay for recycling. Second element, no one wants to pay more to use recycled products. Third point, the quality of the recycled product has to be the same as virgin products. But we've managed to work around this equation. What did we do? Well, we changed the target. We often talk about textile to textile, but we considered it was maybe an opportunity to go and look for textile for something else. And this is polyol polyester. You've never heard about it, but you walk on it because these are your shoe soles. It's also the polyurethane product that makes up your seat. So you have the product everywhere. It's the main component of polyurethane foam. How does it work? It's chemical recycling. We've patented a process that makes it possible to process an old T-shirt into a polyol polyester. So shredding, mechanical grinding, then glycolysis, and then we reproduce a product. No byproducts. It can replace 100% a virgin product, and we are able to do tailor-made products for any application for the industry and the chemical industry. So this was the point on quality. The quality of the product is the same as for a virgin product. But you're going to say, is there a real market for this polyol polyester? Well, we have more than $10 billion of that product consumed every year. And what's also important is that this product drops the environmental impact by 47%. It was shown by a study. And the price is a very competitive price compared to virgin polyol. And this was the second part of the equation, to bring on the market something that is not more expensive than the virgin product. The third element. Now, who wants to pay for the sorting? Who wants to pay for the trim removal? Well, we have two ways of dealing with that. We go to see the industrialist with the textile waste, and we say, for the same price as incineration, we propose to recycle your product with a GRS certificate. Second thing, we are the founder with Filature du Parc and Buitex and others. We have a sorting facility. So we have this in our environment. So we can propose to, in fact, recycle foam or textile. Where do we stand today? Well, you might say it's just an idea they have in mind. No, it's an industrial reality. In May 2024, 2 years ago, we went from the lab 10 grams to 10 tons. How did we do that? Well, we have a research contract with the CNRS. We have 6 researchers there, and we went to see an industrialist to use his industrial tool to go very quickly, a chemical industry, and to keep money to invest in research and to invest in feedstock. So next month, we're going to sell 10 tons of polyol to a customer, but we already have discussions for other markets. No difficulty in selling the product. And 30 seconds to conclude. Yes, so we went from 10 grams to 10 tons. Well, we now hope to go from 10 tons to 25,000 tons. So 10,000 tons collected. Well, that's 0.14% of the European feedstock. So it's a large sum of CO2 saved. And if we want to produce 25,000 tons in 5-6 years, well, then we'll become a major producer of polyol. At this stage, I would like to thank you. I'm available all afternoon to see with those who have polyurethane feedstock in the car industry or in the garment industry. We can also deal with the complex products, so don't hesitate to come and talk things over with me. So sorry for having spoken so fast, but the time allotted was very short. Okay, now Eric Gensley, Filature du Parc, Commercial Director.
Bonjour à tous.
Good morning, Eric Gensley. I'm the sales manager for Filature du Parc. So Filature du Parc is a young startup from 1975, a family-owned company which has 60 people. We're based in Occitania, which is southwest France, in a region which continues to have a lot of textile players. You have spinning companies, knitting, weaving companies, dyeing, etc. Yes. So the company integrated, in fact, the group in 2022 with the aim of having the company grow through investments. The Chanel Group, in fact, bought us so that we can integrate more and more complex materials. The objective of the group, of course, is to preserve the industrial activities in the territory and know-how. So this is carded, in fact, carded spinning. And here you can have fibers which are of animal or plant origin. We can work with blends or single component products. And in fact, we can, in fact, mix with different colored fibers as well. Today we have a whole collection that we can present to the customers. We can show these threads, in fact, these yarns, which are GRS certified. We can work with brands, and we try to find these solutions for the various materials. As far as recycled thread and fibers are concerned, we had a patent in 2017 for a machine which allows us to transform both pre and post consumer materials. It's not necessarily garnetting, but we have a fiber removal which allows us to have these long threads or more or less shorter threads that can be used for insulation, thermal insulation, and other. We have materials. We have a lot of knitwear, knitting, for fabrics, etc. We have, in fact, created a small network of collector sorters in Europe with these operators of sorting. We give them technical specs, of course. We're going to say, okay, we need 3,000 tons, or maybe 3,000 kilos, he corrects himself. 3,000 kilos of black, for example, pullovers, or we can add some specific colors, etc., to produce these yarns or threads. We are also part of Recycle Local, which is a sorting platform for industrial waste, which is going to allow us to get that feedstock of raw materials locally. You know, today our raw materials are in Europe, working with these sorters, and this should enable us to have an approach which is closer in terms of the supply of these textiles. Now, we work, if you like, with brands, you know. If the brands ask the Filature du Parc for a specific yarn to produce fabrics, yarn to produce scarves, whatever, you know, to knit various products like socks, etc. We can also offer a solution for valorization, you know, for a product which is for acoustic or heat insulation, or for the fabric as well. Thank you. So I'll be here this afternoon if you have questions, of course, and if you want to know more about our yarns.
Michael Lemaire, qui est responsable développement.
Now we're going to have Michael Lemaire, who is responsible for UTT Yarns. Yes, I'm Michael Lemaire. I'm responsible for Refilon, which is our spinning unit for recycled materials. We work in this loop. We are working with the co-construction of circular projects. We work with fibers, which can be production scraps or from various markets. We can, in fact, produce 800 tons of yarn per year. We have the possibility of producing yarns which are up to 100% recycled materials. They can be used in knitting machines, weaving as well, with yarns of 6 to 50 nanometers. So a broad range. As I said earlier, we work in close synergy with the ecosystem, whether the manufacturers or it can be the knitters, weavers, brands. We're located in Trélon, and here's just a picture of our location in the north. We have the possibility of having a local ecosystem based in France. So you see the plant here. You have this industrial unit. We have a short video which allows you to see what we can produce. We're going to take the materials that we are going to load in our machine, and then we're going to blend them to offer different blends with different colors, and so as to mix the fibers well to have a homogeneous, uniform result. We're going to produce a ribbon here, which is then going to go onto the spinning machines to obtain various results, various formulations before going to the actual spinning unit. Here you can see the open-end unit.
Voilà.
And there you have it.
Et on obtient les bobines qu'on va pouvoir envoyer.
And we get these coils of yarn.
Par rapport à ça, donc ce qui est intéressant de retenir, hop, ça passe là.
What's interesting is that you have great creative possibilities in terms of the different materials. So here, cotton, denim, you can make mixes at the level of the spinning for colors. We can also do dyes. You know, we have different treatments so as to be able to have different colors.
On pourra faire des fils flammés ou différents
And
aspects.
we can, in fact, have these slub yarns as well.
Sur ces différents sujets.
And we can work with different subjects here. So these yarns can be used in different universes. So here you can produce fabric, you can produce jeans, sweatshirts, T-shirts, socks, and we are GRS certified as well. And so, in fact, we can also work locally with various partners to obtain this.
Dans les temps,
I think I've respected my speaking time, a bit fast maybe, and I will be here all afternoon to answer questions as well.
Merci à vous, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. And now we're going to have the last picture. In fact, so we have the last speaker. In fact, Alain Poincheval from Réju.
Rendez-vous qui s'installe.
So this is becoming a regular event. Now, I know some of the actors here, of course. You know, Réju, what is it? Réju is our company. So Réju has focused its energy around polyester.
Notre mission, c'est d'installer un modèle circulaire.
And our approach is to create a circular model, because I think that's
La
important.
circularité,
You know, circularity is not just a word. We want to give life to that circularity. And this in our holistic approach with our partners,
soit en amont ou en aval.
and either upstream or downstream.
Avec l'amont. Donc, je pense que c'est
But
important.
I think that it's really important to take this into account, because we have a technology at Réju which is capable of solving the chemical barrier, you know, and the whole problems of recycling from the chemical point of view. Now, you need to know that we are an actor which is broader in its approach, not just product, but we really aim at circularity. Right from the outset, we
Proposition de valeur.
have really included this in our value proposal. Our value proposal is to address the post-consumer. Not everyone does this, but this is what we have chosen to do. The post-consumer, and we've oriented our work towards a post-consumer textile approach with the, in fact, textile-to-textile approach. And this is what's going to guarantee that circularity. Today, the major share of the recycled fibers end up in the incinerators. So I think it's good to increase the number of recycled textiles in industry, but if it's going to end up in the incinerator anyway, that's not very interesting. At Réju, we've stressed this with a proposal which is also going to be linked to traceability. This is a discussion, of course, but it does imply certain constraints. You have to establish an environment of trust with the actors, with our own consumers, our clients, but also vis-à-vis the authorities who are helping us. So we have this value proposal regarding a quality textile-to-textile with a environmental performance, which is at the center of our approach. Obviously, everything stops if we're not able to show that we have a positive impact on the environment. And if it is possible, then you have to demonstrate this. And this is what we do with regards to the ADEME. We are able to reduce the carbon emissions by 50% as compared to the polyester derived from fossil sources. we also have the result that the quality of the polyester fibers obtained are of better quality than the virgin fiber. So how to demonstrate this in a physical manner? Well, it's done through tests. These can be sustainability of the of yarn, its ability to use dyes which are less harmful to the environment, etc. All of this so as to be able to offer the market a product which has the same properties, has equivalent properties to virgin material, but more qualities with regards to the end consumer in terms of the process. And this is what we're trying to develop with our partners. The partners are important because when you set up an industrial model, and we are speaking of an industrial model here, then you need to have in mind that you're speaking of 50,000 tons in an industrial site, and like that of Reju. And so that's 50,000 tons that has to reach our doors each year. You know, these have to be prepared textiles. And we have chosen other partnerships whereby we can find an outlet for materials that don't have them today. You know, polycottons, etc., do not have an outlet today. So this is what we explain to our potential partners. You have 30 seconds. Well, then I'm going to conclude. I'll conclude by saying three things which are important today. First of all, with the waste, we are able to have an approach which is really circularity, which is really important. So circularity is the first word I want to leave you with. Sovereignty. Sovereignty, because sovereignty is not a vain word. You know that today we are faced with all kinds of chance events. So to have sovereignty with regards to raw material is important. And this is a challenge and a stake today. Circularity, sovereignty, and what we offer with this model is reindustrialization. A plant like this creates direct jobs, and this is just a drop of water when you look at what you generate. So that's where I'll stop. Thank you. Okay, you exceeded your speaking time by 30 seconds, but are you here this afternoon? Yes, indeed. Good, great. And you were the last of the pitchers here. So, thank you. So, thank you and congratulations to all of you for your action and your commitment for everything that is being deployed here. Now, as we said this morning, so the grail is not to prepare material for recycling, but what's important is reincorporating that material. And this is what we're going to look at right after the jingle.
Voilà. Donc,
So, IMR in French, RMI, that is to say recycled materials incorporation. What are the points that need to be taken into account when we look at the incorporation of these recycled materials? With Refashion, we're going to talk about this with Clara from Refashion and Clotilde Monzo. Clara Lemoelle and Clotilde Monzo, because you work on the subject day after day. Indeed, good morning. So I and Clotilde are going to talk about the experiments in terms of the incorporation of these recycled materials. These various experimentations are something that Refashion created in 2025. We're going to redo this year so as to accompany you here. Now, as far as the RMI experimentation is concerned, we have three major objectives. First of all, we want to stimulate demand for this. So You've had the sharing of information by the industrialists who are present in France, in Europe. They want to fill their order books with your orders. The second objective is to develop a product. It can be an open-ended development or in a closed loop as well. So here we can talk of textiles or footwear, and we want to incorporate recycled material post-consumer. And the third major objective is to ensure the quality of the material. So we are working very closely with the customers who are the destination of these products. We have technical specs that have to be looked at very closely, and we do not want to make any compromises on the materials, recycled materials. We want to obtain the same characteristics as with virgin materials. And I think you all have understood as of this morning that there's another major challenge and stake, and this is the material sovereignty in France and in Europe. So through your experimentation, we want to create a favorable framework for these recycled materials, but we want to stimulate an outlet for these experimentations as well. So with this experimentation, we want to give you the opportunity of creating synergy with the actors present here today to create a local value chain. The second important point is the validation of both the technical and economic feasibility of your product, which will enable us to incorporate the recycled materials. So what we're doing or trying to do is transform the circularity into a real advantage, a competitive advantage for you, your brands, your distributors, and industrialists. So to work with recycled material is something that we've been doing for several years now, but even more so since last year when we launched the first experimentation with regards to the recycled material incorporation, and this for the local construction working with various actors. Last year, 12 experiments with RMI, some 59 actors. With these 59 actors, you have, in fact, 15 end customers. So you have some closed-loop things like Siemens, which worked with a company to produce some recycled products for consumers. We have Soprema, which is working with a company to produce a new insulation material. And you have 3 industrialist brands which are going to present their experience and experimentation. At this point, I would like to invite you to participate in 2026. You can submit your candidate files as of the 1st of April to espace-refashion.fr/experimentation-IMR. We also organized a questionnaire in March to present this proposal. And with Clotilde, we are here this afternoon to answer any questions you might have with regards to this call for candidates. Thank you very much.
Merci, mesdames.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for this presentation. In fact, which introduces the next session, because now we're going to have the testimony of the people who represent the companies and organizations which carried out these experiments in 2025. So if we look at the 3 pairs who are going to talk on this here on stage, we have Paul-Emmanuel Guinard from Nantes and Marine Perrault, who is responsible for collaborative projects and partnerships at Recyclite. So if you want to take a seat here, I'll say a few words about your project, chemical recycling, textile to textile of synthetic products. Now here, this is a bit long, but So we're talking of sports clothing, Nolt, new textile products on a closed or quasi-closed loop. So show that using a complex products, we can have very high-performing clothing for athletes. Here, this is the move to the industrial scale. So, Paul, why have you decided to use this recycled product? It might seem complex, but it's quite simple. We produce T-shirts like this. At the end of life, we produce these. So we already have products derived from PET bottles. And we met the people from Recycle Elite 2 or 3 years ago. And we signed a contract. And right from the beginning at Nolt, we wanted to produce these sports shirts. Here, we wanted to transform material. And, you know, Refashion was already alongside of us. And we wanted to produce sports shirts from sports shirts. So it's a question of meeting various people. I saw quite a few pitches, you know. And textile to textile is something that we really believe in this. We produce these sports shirts for sports clubs, in fact. Well, we saw the question of sovereignty, perhaps more so than ever. It's better to work with a closed loop than to work with PET bottles. Well, there's several things. There's the question of sovereignty, and we don't want to compete with the PET bottle. You know, we sell shirts which cost more than a bottle of water, obviously. So it's a question of already thinking of the future. So today we're very lucky. We found a partner, a European and French partner. Let me say that it doesn't have to necessarily be a European project. It has to be a project that is feasible on a scale at a market price which is competitive. So to have a French project, just to be a French project, is not going to work. It has to work, and then we'll look at the issues of sovereignty, etc. But let's be honest here. It's difficult to fight at all levels here. So you supply Nolt with materials. So what does this change for you? We have always worked with the textiles. So we take these complex polyester-based products. Here we're looking at the post-consumer. Here you had the Nolt jerseys, and so there was traceability with regards to the material. And for Recycle, you know, to recover these jerseys, sports shorts, etc., these products with various products and content, you know, elastane, polyester, etc. You have very different jerseys here. One is white, one is colored. So they can have lots of colors. There's a lot of diversity, which can create difficulties here in the treatment. For us, with the chemical recycling, what's interesting is the ability to valorize the polyester portion, but also the elastane as well, because we can recover the elastane scraps as well. And Paul was talking about the various criteria we can satisfy. You know, the pellets that we are able to obtain, the rPET pellets that we obtain, answer all of the specs and criteria required by the brand. The only criteria that we need to improve, the pellets are transparent, but they are transparent, but they could be clear. What do you mean? You know, there's the question of all of the dyes, you know. The question of color is important. We use a technique which sublimes the color, you know, because we have to have clear pellets because of the fact that we need to work with the various club colors. The color is essential for the industry in the long run. And, you know, so visually speaking, if you look at the yarn, it looks white. You would think it's white. So as far as the yarn itself is concerned, we were able to spin and texturize the yarn. So in terms of its elongation, resistance, etc., required of the yarn, those characteristics have been met. Oh, very good. So in your production, in your closed loop, where are you exactly? Well, this is a project which was supported by the RMI a few years ago. For the project, we're on a pre-industrial level today. To give you an idea, in December 2024, we produced our first textured yarns to produce jerseys. This is important for us because it's for Adidas, Nike, etc. So for us, that was very good because it was a slightly technical project here. A year later, a few days ago, we textured 100 or so spools of yarn. And, you know, here we look at the textile. In a couple months, we'll have 100 or so jerseys. So, you know, we produce about 120,000 jerseys, which nothing. But in about 5-6 years, we should be able to have 20% of our production in this way. So we're not very big. We're a small actor. But this is to show that it is possible. So now, Marine, to accompany Nolt and maybe others who are going to move towards that approach, what do you lack to ensure the supply of these yarns? Well, it's clear that the more we increase the scale of production, it means that all of the circuits, you know, the collectors, etc., of feedstock will have to also follow, you know. And this for, you know, the scaling up of the production, you know. We need to have material. We need to have, you know, that eco material that we need for the entire chain, in fact. There is a real subject that's important here for the chemical transformation, the financing. Do you need significant resources to ensure the production of yarns? Well, to date, we have a pre-industrial demonstrator in our premises, which was supplied by a project with ADEME. The objective, the next objective, will be to have a plant which is obviously going to call for several dozen million euros to be able to scale up and to improve everything. Because now, when we look at the waste that we have today and the size we have today, well, the production is not sufficiently profitable. And so if we scale up the yield between the pilot scale, which was 10 times smaller than our present demonstrator, is already an improvement in yield. It has already increased yield. But when we move to the next scale, you know, here again, each change of scale entails costs, which leads us to improve, of course. So the momentum is there. Thank you to both of you for your testimony. And you're here this afternoon? Well, perfect then.
Merci.
Thank you and congratulations.
Maintenant, Clément Decoing, directeur de
Now,
programme
Clément
circularité.
Decoing, responsible for circularity at Kiabi, Emmanuel Préter, des tissages de Charlieu. And so this is a natural fiber recycling. I love when people come with their samples. So here we're talking about the incorporation of recycled material in the area of clothing. So we have to adapt the industrial process, but we also have to change the internal practices to deal with these materials. So what was your approach, challenge, and opportunities?
Pour démarrer sur l'approche, peut-être.
So Clément, the first question we asked ourselves is what product can we develop? So we had a pragmatic approach. We had a lot of discussions to try and maximize our chances of success. So we kept in mind industrial reality. This is why we have developed 3 products that we see on the screen. So jeans, beach futas that you see here, and bags. Now, when we talk about a pragmatic approach, well, we looked at the technical level of the yarn, how to make sure that the yarn will be acceptable. In fact, then an economic approach. We have either to control the manufacturing costs. This is the case for the futa.
De se dire, c'est pas parce qu'on utilise.
Now, we decided it's not because we use recycled material that we need to lower our requirements, our specs. We kept the same specs. And we also were very careful with the durability of the product. This is important also from a recycling point of view. And also in terms of organization. These projects can be very educational for us in-house, but also for all stakeholders. Today, the development processes are not standard processes, but at least we come up with concrete solutions and demonstrate that it's possible. And then we'll have to work on standardizing this sort of product. What's important is to have a dialogue right from the start, even before we choose the products, to maximize chances of success. And on your side, what did it change at the industry level? Well, we had to meet the requirements of Kiabi already. We are a small SME in the Loire region.
Un groupe industriel aujourd'hui quasiment intégré. Il nous manque juste.
We go from waste collection down to the making of clothes and marketing of products. Everything around weaving. And it was really a joint creation process. Clément and Caroline went to our company. They spent a day, visited our 3 or even 4 plants in one day. We showed all the collections we had in our archives, and we together thought about the products we could come up with. We came up with 4 products. Well, in fact, we finally selected 3. 1 was dropped. It was hard work. We never got bored. Now, the design teams decided to have many colors, so we had to think hard also on how to develop those colors with post-consumer products and with 100% recycled yarn. The 9 colors we developed within the framework of this project, there's no dyes, no dyeing. So we had to find the right material with the right color, and then we had to find the additional fibers we needed, and all that without downgrading the quality, because our motto in this project is to come up with products that you can weave easily, spin easily, and that also put up with the specifications of Kiabi. And we want the products to sell well, and we want the customer, the end customer, to be happy with it. So we had to take many, many precautions when we chose the material, when we sorted the material in our plant, in the garnishing to keep the best material length, and then how to incorporate this in the different yarns, and then the right spinning or weaving. So we worked on that with all our team, from the designers, engineers, even the management. You know, the project started a year ago. The bags and the futa will come out on the market, I think, next month. So the consumer will be able to access these products. So French products, including French cotton. And what's the maturity level? So the products are going to be on the market soon. So how do you see things? Well, I think that we're somewhere between the pilot phase and pre-industrialization. But we want really to reach the right scale. For Kiabi, we really want to reduce our environmental impact with this type of product. And recycling is really a good way to do that. Now, these projects are still technical and industrial projects today, and not yet marketing projects. I don't want to repeat what you have said, but these products have to be, you know, attractive, appealing for the customer. Otherwise, it's useless. The projects today are still quite technical, but we have strong technical basis, strong foundations. So this is quite positive, but we still have to learn and look at the end-to-end value chain, because today there's still a certain number of blockages or barriers at the level of from the economic point of view. Kiabi, your motto is small or low prices. Yes, but we also want our customers to access a durable and affordable fashion or product. So we don't have the same return or margin as on the denim product, for example. But it is a necessary step to be able to analyze afterwards the whole value chain and understand what levers we can use either to bypass some difficulties or overcome. And on the basis of the analysis and the cost breakdown, then we should be able to reach an interesting profitability. But now we want to speed up things. We still today use specific processes. The challenge will be to standardize all that, to incorporate recycled post-consumer material, to work not with dedicated teams, but to introduce this on a standard basis in the Kiabi processes. Emmanuel, I was listening to you. Yes, this is all very complex. What lessons can you draw before you can move forward? Well, first of all, it's very important to define the product right from the start, to eco-design it as much as we can, and the importance of the dialogue with the customer. we meet every week or every 2 weeks. So it's really joint development, as we do with other customers. Constant exchanges. This means we have to question ourselves. Sometimes we have to go back. For example, for the denim, the yarn we developed was not blue enough, so we had to redevelop something. So this is very important because we learn as we go. And in fact, we use all our partners in our ecosystem in France and in Europe. We need to have the right, partners, because in the area of recycling, when you develop products based on recycled, you have the collection, the first manual sorting, enhanced sorting, then you have gardening, etc. You need to have trusted partners. And it is that local ecosystem that is very important. We have to maintain it, and then we have to work on the developments with all the people in the production plant, down to the person qualifying the product, certifying the product. So it's a great experience, a lot of learning. And we'll be able to do better, stronger, faster next time, more volume. So we'll be able to grow. The brands and the recycling operators can grow together. Thank you very much. The last RMI project we'll cover today, and which is underway thanks to the support of Refashion. We're going to welcome Alexia Coupé, working at 1083, before called Le Jean Français, and Aurélien Dallongueville, Director of Tissage de France. An RMI project, recycling natural fibers in jeans. You want to show we can combine environmental issues, local production, and economic viability. And this raises the question of the cost of recycled material and what can... First question to Aurélien. What about the additional cost for this recycled raw material? Well, our objective today is to have 100% cotton yarn. So yes, today when you work with recycled yarn, it represents an additional cost compared to a virgin product. The objective is to work on finished product that have a certain added value so we can absorb the over cost that is generated at the beginning. Today we have raw material that we have to add to a yarn. Now to produce a jean, we need a yarn that in some cases you have to dye. So you introduce added value. And if we go further, if we look at the price of denim fabric or jean fabric, it is not that cheap. Within the framework of our project, we're able to integrate and absorb the overcost of such fibers. If we wanted to compare recycled fiber compared to virgin cotton, you have to take into account cost and quality. That if we were only to look at that, we'd stop our projects. Is it a technical issue today more than financial? Well, when the objective is to work with 100% cotton, this has a technical impact. And today, we're not able to work with 100% natural recycled product. So today we have mixed recycled and non-recycled, but we want to incorporate as much recycled product as we can. Now, our project is also to have a local sourcing as much as we can, introducing French raw material, because we have, in fact, textile here in France. So we incorporate this in our material. This means we reduce the importing of virgin cotton material. 1083 or 1083. Can you tell us a few words about this brand? Let me just add something. 1083 was never le jean français. It was always 1083. The brand was created in 2013 by Thomas Uriez. Why 1083? It's the number of kilometers. It's the distance, in fact, between the two cities that are the further away. So a town close to Brest and Menton. So 1083. And we have this diagonal represented on the rear pocket of the jeans. So it's the distance between these two faraway cities in France. So your objective is to produce a jean in France with recycled fibers coming from French post-consumer. So ultra-local, short, closed loop, yes. Today, our jeans are 100% French, starting at the weaving. In a former refashion, we did an experiment some years ago. It was quite conclusive. And as Aurélien said, it was 50% virgin fiber, 50% recycled. Today, another experiment with refashion to work on these recycled fibers with a local incorporation, and we're working on a higher scale compared to the former experiment. So the focus here is the question of cost. So it's more expensive to incorporate recycled fiber. So how did you introduce this in your business plan? How do you introduce this or keep in mind this overcost? Well, when we do recycling, all this is based on a will, a desire. And it's not something that will be cheaper, even though, we say, it's recycled fibers, so maybe it'll be cheaper than virgin cotton. No, there are additional steps in the process, added steps, complementary steps that are not there when we use the virgin material. So this notion of additional cost, well, we can lower it thanks to increasing the production of yarn, including recycled material. So it's thanks to the volume that we can limit as much as possible the additional cost. So it's the changing of scale that is the solution here. Yes. Aurélien, another question. Okay. The cost, in a way, remains marginal, but why do you go on with this sort of approach, producing yarns from recycled material? Well, the first idea is to have a yarn that is as French as possible. In the area of cotton, there were a certain number of experiments, but the first feedstock is clothing waste. Now, for the approach, well, it's to meet, an objective. We want to increase the recycled share to lower the virgin product. So less water, less transportation. It means reducing our CO2 emissions. So this is an objective, a corporate objective but that exists in the whole of France. And it's also this idea to meet all the regulations at the French level and European level. These regulations will, in fact, go on becoming, more and more stringent. So integrating this in our development is a need, and we hope it will be beneficial for us in the future. Now, what about the question of acceptability? We talked about this with Renault, and you, for your brand. So your brand are made in France, and they include recycled fibers. Do you need to convince your consumers that there's no issue from the hygiene point of view, or is it a marketing advantage for you? Two answers. Hygiene, no. This has never come up. Now, maybe a question of resistance, strength. And they might ask us if the jean is going to wear quickly. Another thing, it's never 100% recycled, and we are going to dye the product so they won't see the difference. There's no visual difference. So today, it's not an obstacle. It can only be a positive point. But then we have to, stress that, explain that, saying that tomorrow we hope that all the 1083 jeans will incorporate a large quantity of recycled material. What do you miss what are you missing to close the loop? Well, we're doing some tests. Today we work with the post-consumer. The former tests were done with offcuts. But today we are using post-consumer material. So the big thing is the quality of the feedstock we have that Aurélien can rework. And there's also the question of the supply flow. It has to be constant so that tomorrow our production is also sustainable. Thank you both. Will you be here this afternoon? I'm leaving quite early, but Aurélien is here. Aurélien will be here this afternoon.
Sur cette expérimentation, merci à vous.
So thank you all concerning this experiment in the area of RMI. So the last testimony for today, and we now come to the end of this morning, and it's time for a summary and a conclusion after this.
Et j'accueille donc Véronique Allaire pour quelques
I call Véronique Allaire back on stage for a few words of conclusion with Maud Hardy, who is General Manager of Refashion. So, good morning and welcome.
Vous prenez la parole toutes les deux, je crois.
And I think you're both going to speak at this point, yes? Okay. Well, good morning to everyone. Have you enjoyed the morning? Have you enjoyed this morning's session, yes? Oh. Did you enjoy this morning? Yes, great. So if you enjoy it, this is when you can applaud the Refashion team.
Je voudrais donc ce grand bravo.
So I would like to dedicate this applause to the entire Refashion team, Véronique and her team. So stand up so that we can applaud you. Congratulations for this morning.
Vu que Maud a commencé par ça, il n'y a pas que l'équipe.
So there's not just the team here. at PERMA, we have the members team as well who are here. They are the ones who invited all the brands present today with an extraordinary amount of work to explain what was being done. And the communication team as well, because without them, we would not have been able to organize this event. So thank you for your support. It's a real concentration of all of the company's forces. Congratulations. So I don't want you to be late for lunch. So I must say I will be brief here because everything's been said this morning. You had all of the essential elements this morning. We started with François, who gave you the example of how an industry, Renault, reinvents its model. And I think that's quite inspiring because this shows how we at the CHF sector are reinventing ourselves. And you here in this room are all of those who are involved in this. You are here to reinvent this industry. We've had presentations which have shown us that we have all of the elements in hand to do this, the studies, the data. We saw the update of the technology, et cetera, et cetera. Technologically speaking, we know how to do this. You have the information on the various experimentation carried out in recent years, which are extremely promising. And we have you, the recyclers who have taken the floor. You have shown what works perhaps not as good, what will work better in the future. So now we need to get in a battle order and do what's necessary. You know that here we have to really get everyone together, recyclers, upcyclers, customers, etc. I look at Maud, I look at everyone here. I hope that in 1 year's time, when we meet again, for those of you who have yet to take that step forward, I hope that you will start. This afternoon, in any case, it's up to you to speak with him or her, share your business cards, commit yourself, make a commitment here this afternoon. We have really a large number of marriages between companies here. Maybe next year we will be able to talk about all the different new marriages between actors, recyclers, etc. that will have taken place this year. So this afternoon, it's up to you to get engaged, get married, etc. So thank you to all of you. Have a lovely lunch, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thank you, Maud.